Rabbi Erez Sinai is a colleague of ours who graduated with us from the Jewish Theological Seminary. And right after ordination, he made Aliyah, and for the last number of years has worked in the educational field, connecting the diaspora with the people of Israel. And if you follow Rabbi Sinai online, every single post he concludes with says this: Am Yisrael Chai. It's not a slogan. It's a way of life. For these last 15 months, he's right. Some of you probably have had the same experiences that I have had walking through the streets of Los Angeles, and you see somebody with the yellow ribbon on their suit or a dog tag mentioning a hostage or a soldier, and instead of just nodding your head, you say out loud, Am Yisrael Chai. But this morning I want to focus on the second part of that slogan, which comes from the song Am Yisrael Chai, composed by Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach in 1965, which was an anthem to connect with Soviet Jewry, because the second piece that we don't usually say out loud, but we do sing, says what? Od Avinu Chai, translated loosely as God is alive. God is alive. And so for a few moments, I want to focus on these words because I believe they can in fact help us understand what it means to make a New Year's resolution in 2025. And so first, a word on resolutions, a word on God, and some advice for the new year. The New York Times this week had an article about resolutions. It was written by Holly Burns, and it was titled, For a Happier New Year, Focus on Your Loved Ones. And it went to explain that a resolution, Holly Burns says, should not be about you or yourself, but a real resolution should be about focusing on others. We all know that the resolutions we make in the secular New Year are about ourselves. I will walk this many steps per day. I will eat or will not eat a certain food. I will do something at my job in order to get mobility. And it is pretty Jewish. Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, Im ein ani mili. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Go into any bookstore, if they exist today, and you will see one of the largest sections in a bookstore is self-help. Understanding that before we help another, we also have to take care of ourselves. Stephanie Harrison is the head of a platform called The New Happy, and she emphasizes that happiness cannot be done alone, but it takes another to create with one another to achieve happiness. She says that research shows that the happiest people on earth are those that can form a balance between compassion for others and self-compassion for themselves. She says, imagine that if in your calendar, instead of having the task that you have to do for yourself, every single day you also had a period of time in that day that said, go do something for somebody else. And this idea of doing something together to better the world, it's also found, as Eliana spoke and taught us so beautifully, in the Joseph narrative, specifically when he reunites with his brothers. The first words that come out of Joseph's mouth are Ha'od Avi Chai. Is my father still alive? Everett Fox, a great Bible scholar in this generation, looks at the overall book of Breshit, of Genesis, and he explains that it really focuses, if you pay attention over these last few months, on whether God will fulfill God's promises to us, and if God fulfills those promises, how we will transfer them to others as a blessing. We live in a world where it's pretty hard to see God's resolutions being fulfilled in the new year. When Joseph asked this question, Ha'od Avichai, is my father still alive? Underneath that question, he really is asking, is there godliness still left in this world? The last few weeks in our Parshiot have dealt with the drama of Joseph, his brothers, his family. But the first words out of his mouth, Ha'od Avichai, is my father still alive? He basically is saying, give me a New Year's resolution so we can put this world back together. And he knows that he cannot do it alone. Joseph recognizes that the potential in each one of his brothers is the potential to create a tomorrow with the souls of other human beings. So much of our lives is interacting with strangers. You see them, but they're strangers. But we know that this godliness that Joseph is asking about can only be fulfilled through Martin Buber's famous relationship of I, thou, and not I, it. Holly Burns, when she writes this article on resolutions, says, in order to make these resolutions and create the happiness focusing on others, she says, we have to change strangers into acquaintances. We all know the mail truck, but we don't know the mail person. We know the garbage truck, but we don't know the people who collect the garbage. We know the uniform of our security guards, but we don't know the guards themselves. And often, even in the sanctuary, you might know the face of the person that sits next to you every Shabbat, or behind you or in front of you, but we don't necessarily know them beyond the stranger who they are. So many times, those people are objects. And in order to have these New Year's resolutions be fulfilled, they have to become subjects. By doing so, as Holly Burns says, by learning the inside of another human being, that is how we are able over thousands of years to translate Ha'od Avichai that Joseph asked, is my father alive? To what Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach did in 1965, turning that question into an answer. Od Avinu Chai. Our God does exist. Our God is alive. You see, when Joseph asked that question, it was only with the help of his brothers that one day we could turn that into an answer. It was the godliness in each of their souls that produced his future, but ultimately, the Simcha today. And when all of us who are here to celebrate the Taft family know and think about a family that has godliness in them, who has the ability to change a stranger into an acquaintance, Eliana, it's your family. Eliana, there's a reason why your dad and I have a competition of who's the last in the room. It's not because we don't want to come home for dinner, but it's because your dad has this unbelievable ability to look at a stranger, to hear their story, to see the potential in them, to know what he will create with them, and ultimately make that difference in their life. And Eliana, it is you who have that strength and passion, as your parents so beautifully said, well beyond your years. Every single person at your Shabbat dinner last night mentioned basketball, your strength and passion on the court, and we have all seen it here. But that's only a microcosm into your soul, because that translates into a passion of goodness and justice and righteousness that your family has brought and continues to bring to Sinai Temple, to LA, to the people of Israel and the world. If there's one person that I will never envy, it's a referee in Eliana's basketball games. You seek justice from those people. You ensure not just the call is right, but as your mom described, that people are acting right, that every human soul is treated equally. It's your family who causes us to ask the same question of Yosef, Ha'od Avichai, not is my father alive, but is there godliness still in this world? And when you do that, and your family, you show us every time that you can't do it alone and we can't do it alone, but all of us, we can do it together. I watched so beautifully a few weeks ago as you welcome strangers into your home from Israel. One of them from Kibbutz Nir Oz, and they instantly became family. When Rabbi Guzik often asks why my phone is going off so much in the WhatsApp, I said, it's just Eliana's mom sending love messages to these new friends in Israel. But it's true. You do it not for yourself, but your family does it so each one of us can also live a beautiful and better life. And so, yes, we are in 2025. We are in a new year. We are in a post-New Year's world. Many of the individual resolutions that we all made have probably mostly been broken already. And so we're going to put those to the side. And this year we are going to focus on Jewish resolutions, making sure that we do things for others, making sure that we commit to knowing one soul that maybe was a stranger, but tomorrow has the potential to create a better world for tomorrow. For when we do, instead of asking that age-old question that Yosef did when he saw his brothers, Ha'od Avichai, is there godliness in this world? We can make sure that when we say Od Avinu Chai, that God is still alive, that will not be a slogan, but for all of us, it will be a way of life. Mazal Tov. Shabbat Shalom.